Hi, Luann. This is Mike at Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, and this is your little Kenmore. And this is the final test before we pack her up to ship her out to you. And testing and adjusting and testing and adjusting until she's just sewing so good. And this is also your tutorial. You may already know how to use this machine, but just in case you need a refresher, we're going to go over the basic operations. And also in case somebody else sees this, we'll post it to YouTube, and other people who have a machine like this will be able to come and learn how to work their machine too. So we're going to go over all of the basics. We're going to start by winding a bobbin. So first I will dethread. And you'll find your bobbin in the bobbin case down below the needle plate. And to get there, you open up the toolbox by pressing down the back corner here and just flipping this part forward. And here are all your tools readily available while you're sewing. But you can remove it just by lifting it out. And you can see that your bobbin is down here just like on any other machine of this sort. And to take it out, you pull the little lever towards you and just slide it right out. You have to make sure that your needle is up out of the bobbin case, because if the needle's down, then you won't be able to pull it out. But as long as you're holding this little lever, your bobbin's going to stay in, which makes it convenient for moving around. So let go of that little lever and drop the bobbin out in your hand. And this one's got quite a bit of thread on it, so we'll wind a different one. And let's see. Put your spool of thread on the spool pin, which may be hidden in the back like that when you first get it. So pop up your spool pin, put the thread on, go in the clockwise direction around this little tension device here. So you kind of loop it back over yourself, and then back to the bobbin winder. Put your thread through one of the little holes in the bobbin from the inside towards the out. Hold it with your finger and put several wraps on the bobbin to hold the thread in place while you wind. And then with the thread going on, with the bobbin going on with the thread coming around this way, the back, put it on the spindle, the bobbin winder, press this little switch forward until it goes into the bobbin, and as the bobbin fills, it's going to push this further and further and further out until when it's full, it's going to turn it off. Declutch your machine, and this is different than on most machines. Instead of a knob in the middle to turn, you just pull it out, pull the hand wheel out. And now the hand wheel can spin and the machine doesn't cycle. So it looks like we're ready to wind. No reason to go fast. If you go fast, it gives you more chance of tangling your thread. Yeah, let's put on enough for our test. Oops. How are you doing? Okay, that should be plenty. Excuse me. Scissors appear to be loose for unknown reasons. There. That's better. move the little switch back, push your hand wheel back in, and when you drop your bobbin in the bobbin case, you want the thread to be coming off the top in this direction. So drop it in and guide the thread up into this little slanted slot in the side of the bobbin case and on up under the flat leaf spring. And that leaf spring is your lower tension, which is adjusted right here. Let's see, do I have a little to add a little more tension if you need to for a special project. You turn that little screw clockwise just a little bit, and to loosen the tension you turn it counterclockwise. Basically you want just enough tension so that your bobbin case can dangle without unspooling. And then I like just a little bit more than that, but not a lot. Now this little finger here, when you put your bobbin in the bobbin case, you want that little finger to be pointing up because there is a cutout that that little finger is going to go into, and that'll keep your bobbin case from spinning. Holding the lever, we're going to slide this onto the spindle here, and again, make sure that that little finger goes into the slot for it at the top there, and make sure that it clicks, that the bobbin case clicks into place. And now we put the toolbox back, and you do that by aligning these two little round nubs. There's a little round nub on either side, and there's a little straight guide nub here. You want the little round nub in the bottom back corner. Just slide it down just inside the very front edge of the compartment that it goes in. Then roll it back. To thread your machine, again, put your thread on the spool pin. There's a thread guide in the back. You see this slot here? Right at the back of that slot is a thread guide that your thread goes into. Then it's going to lay down into that slot, and hold on to the thread back here so I have a little bit of tension as you pull this forward, because this is pulling the thread into the tension discs. And you want to make sure that the thread is firmly seated between the discs of the tension assembly. Go to this thread guide here, down below this big thread guide, up into this thread guide, and from there you're going to go over the top of the take-up lever. There's a slot in the top that the thread will just go right into. We're going to go back a second time into this thread guide here, down to this thread guide, down to the thread guide on the needle clamp, and then do a nice clean end on your thread through the eye of the needle from the front to the back. Holding your thread loosely, turn the hand wheel towards you one full revolution, and the needle will take the thread down where the hook will pick it up and wrap it around the bobbin and bring up your lower thread. So when the needle reaches its top position again, you'll be able to pull the bottom thread up. There it is. Put your upper thread between the toes of the presser foot towards the back of the machine, and you are ready to sew. I have it set up for straight stitch right now. If you'll notice, there's an orange dot on the pattern selector dial up here, as well as an orange dot on the stitch width dial here, and there's an orange oblong on the stitch length knob. We're going to put the orange dot is your straight stitch position. Your orange dot on your stitch width is 0, so there's no zigzag, so that's your straight stitch position. And down here, you can set the stitch length to whatever you need. I'm going to set it to a fairly short stitch. Let's go 12 stitches per inch. Goes on down to 10 stitches to 8 stitches per inch, down to 5. Looks like 5 stitches per inch. So 5 stitches per inch is much longer than 12 stitches per inch. You're going to set that at 12, this at 0, and this at straight stitch. Put your fabric under the presser foot, and we're ready to go. This is 2 layers of heavy denim from a pair of Carhartt logger jeans. And step on the gas. To add some stitch width, but first I'm going to bring the needle up out of the fabric so I don't inadvertently bend my needle. And I'm just going to go all the way up to 4, which is the widest zigzag position. Again, this is should work on straight stitch. Yeah, there we go. Zigzag is just straight stitch with a little stitch width added. And now let's do a fancy stitch. Let's do one of the stretch stitches. So with the stretch stitches, your fabric's going to move back and forth as it sews and lay down additional stitches in each position. I'm going to take the needle up again out of the fabric before I change the setting. And we have the choices here are a multi-stitch zigzag, blind stitch, whatever you call a zigzag that's got squared off corners at the bottom, and that one and that one, I don't know what they're called. I don't even know what that one is called, but it's the one that looks kind of like a chain. This is just a straight zigzag stretch stitch. Sorry, this is just a straight stretch stitch. Lays down three stitches side by side at each spot. Then as you go around, you've got the 3 positions of your buttonhole. So I'm going to go on around to that chain looking stitch because that's a cool one. And I've found that for that one, up around 2.5 is pretty good on that. And a little shy of 12 stitches per inch, kind of between the 12 stitches per inch mark and the orange oblong. Is a good stitch length for that pattern, and you adjust it up and down until it looks good for you. And you can see the fabric moving back and forth. Let's do one more. Let's do the, we're going to do this one, which is just a straight stretch stitch. still have the zigzag on, so now you've got a zigzag stretch stitch, but you get the idea. If I had remembered to turn the stitch width down to 0, you would have had a straight stretch stitch. But let's, just because it's so cool, let's make a buttonhole. I'm going to go right down in the middle of my fabric here, and these 3 positions here are your buttonholes. The one closest to the array of stretch stitches is the reverse side. The middle one is the bar for the top and the bottom. And the one closest to the orange dot is the forward. I don't know what you call it, bar, side, line, anyway. So, you'll mark out how long your buttonhole is going to be, and you're going to mark out the position on your fabric. But then you start at the top of your buttonhole, and depending how thick you want the sides of the buttonhole to be, you set your zigzag for that. When you get to the bottom of your mark, you turn it 1 click to the bar position, do the bottom bar. Sorry about that. Somehow I broke my thread. Maybe I just pulled it out of the eye of the needle when I pulled the fabric out. So, we're going to start over with the first side. So, starting at the top of your buttonhole mark, see the first side down to the bottom of your mark, and you turn 1 click to the bar position, make the bottom bar. Go 1 more click to do the right side bar. And in this case, the fabric is going to go backwards. Top of your buttonhole, then back to the bar position, and do your top bar. You can see that. I hope you can see that. I'm sure that you'll do yours more neatly than I do mine. Mine's a little wide at the top. Let's just look at all the controls again. Your thread mast, or your spool pin, your stitch length, your reverse, your tension, and I have it set so, let's see, yeah, it looks pretty well balanced. In fact, it looks real well balanced. And I have the tension on 2 at this point. Of course, if we go down to 0, you've got no tension. If you go up to 3, you've got more tension. So I'm going to set it about 2. Pressure on your sewing foot is under the top lid, and there are no screws to remove. You just pop it up. Just pop it up. And this dial here adjusts your this adjusts the pressure on your sewing foot. And for some projects, you may want a little more or a little less pressure on the sewing foot. Oh, I believe, yeah, your feed drop is down here. This little lever here is your feed drop. If you want to do darning or machine embroidery or something like that, quilting where you just want to follow whatever pattern you've laid out, you drop that, put your tension to 0, and no, I was wrong. Do not put your tension to 0. Put your pressure on your sewing foot to 0. Drop the lever, and then you can move the fabric. So I'm going to go back to the sewing position. Put your toolbox back in by aligning the little nubs to just right inside the front edge here. Drop it into place, spin it backwards. And here I'm going to put your your spare bobbin in the toolbox. And that's just about it. Oh, your on and off switch is back here. Again, to declutch the machine, you just pull the hand wheel out. Reclutch it, push it back in. I'm going to leave it set up for straight stitch. So when it arrives, you should be able to just when it arrives, you should just be able to thread her up and sew. Then experiment with all the other stuff. And I'm going to send you a PDF user manual that you can view on screen and or print it out so you have a paper copy to keep in the case with the machine. Your clamshell case goes on like this. Make sure the little lever on both sides, not lever, clip, I guess, is down. Press in this button here and this button here. That unlocks your case so it spreads out. And I would assume that the front is the side that when you look at it you can read the writing on top. Upside down, right side up. Okay, drop your case over in the back, push it under the machine, push the two sides together, and you also want to put your foot control in there before you close it up. Anyway, push the sides together and it should click into place. Well, anyway, that's the idea. And then once it clicks together, then you put the little locks up and they hold it in place. And I'll figure out why that's not closing on that side before I send it. So thank you, Luann. You're going to love this little machine. It's a sweetie. And I'll get her in the mail to you. Again, thank you. And if you come here from somewhere else, we are Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, and we restore vintage sewing machines. And people send us their machines from all over the country. So if you have mom's or grandma's machine in the cupboard, send us an email and we'll talk about it, about how to pack her to ship so she gets here safely. If you live within a state or two, you might want to drive your machine straight on over. It's just a little bit safer than committing your machine, however well packed, to the shipping industry. But we very, very rarely have a problem as long as it's packed correctly. And I have the website down right now because I'm working on it, but it's going to eventually get back up, and it is stagecoachroadsewing.com. We're on Stagecoach Road out here in the Coast Range of Oregon, and so our email address is stagecoachroadsewing.com, and we'll see you there.